Put that in there.
I may include that since I include everything always.
Yeah. All right. So it's time for Susan Michelle and Myrna. Susan Michelle, this mic is all yours. Put that in there.
I may include that since I.
All right.
Hi, this is Susan Michel. I am here in Western Massachusetts. It is great to be here as always. I am the author of Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which we are all here to study, to learn, to embody the knowledge of. And it is a clear path to peace, love, joy, and happiness. I have been listening to it again today on Audible, and to really digest the information is so transformational. It's just so beautiful. It brings tears to my eyes and joy to my heart. And I have my good friend and Course in Miracles soul sister in Boca Raton, Florida, here with me today. Myrna Skoller. She is the author of Private Lessons with Jesus, along with 5 or 6 other books. Private Lessons with Jesus is an amazing complement to A Course in Miracles workbook for students. I love her book and I love her. I love you, Myrna. How are you today?
Love you too. Everything is wonderful today. Weather's beautiful. Woke up in my right mind, which I thank God for every day. And yeah, it's all good.
I received an email actually earlier this morning from John Mundy about Easter. So I know Lynn was just talking about that. Dove was talking about that. I'm looking forward to that. That sounds super exciting. And I think that I will start out today with one of my favorite paragraphs from my book, Surrender to Joy. I write in the introduction, my passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with 3 simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. So, God's will for me is perfect happiness. When I am in my right mind, as you just mentioned, Myrna, I am at peace. My mind is at peace. And today is the 108th day of 2025. So if you're doing the workbook lessons in order, today's lesson, which is 108, states to give and to receive are one in truth. I actually love this lesson so much because it is such a simple truth. And when you adhere to this, I can connect to the truth of who I am. So think about like what it's saying. It's like when I give to my brother, I'm giving to myself. When I allow my brother to give to me, I'm connecting with my true self. I'm going to read the first paragraph actually, because I love today's lesson. It says, vision depends upon today's idea. The light is in it, for it reconciles all seeming opposites. And what is light except the resolution born of peace of all your conflicts and mistaken thoughts into one concept, which is wholly true? Even that one will disappear because the thought behind it will appear instead to take its place. and now you are at peace forever, for the dream is over then. So what I give to my brother, I'm giving to myself. When I wish my brother well, I'm actually receiving that myself. When I wish my brother abundance, I'm receiving that abundance myself. When I wish my brother joy, I'm receiving that joy myself. Like the world teaches that when you give, you lose. A Course in Miracles is teaching the only way to get something is to give it away. And I don't think it's talking about material objects, because material objects are not of God, because material objects are temporal. Whatever is of God is eternal. So I think this lesson is talking about the intangible. But if I want to experience the joy of God, which is the joy of myself, what is essential is to extend that joy to my brother. Any thoughts, Myrna?
Yeah, I love that lesson too. To give and to receive are one in truth. And the paragraph that you just read, it's all about vision. And once we receive the truth, the recognition that vision it has nothing to do with the body's eyes, it has to do with truth, and the body really has no purpose really other than the purpose that we give it. I really do like that lesson because that paragraph that you read also said, the dream is over. And what is a dream? A dream is something that's not real. To think about that, where really everything we do, everything we think during the course of a day, basically is just a dream. And when we get into the concept of reality, then vision takes its place, true vision, the truth of who we are, the connection that we have to all of consciousness, the connection that we have to all our brothers as they have with us. So to have that to be in that place, to be in that space is wonderful because it's so peaceful. And these meditative experiences that we have, whatever they may be, bring us closer to that. It obliterates the world's nonsense, the world's chatter, and it brings us to the reality of all that is, the I am, the God, the consciousness of that connection that we are a part of, that we're made from. And when you read that lesson, I looked at my own book, Private Lessons with Jesus, and I jumped into 108. My book was created when I put the title of each lesson into the computer and just let it take me where it was going. And I'm going to read a little bit from this as well. With God, when you give something away, it is much to the benefit of the giver as it is to the receiver. The world's thinking is the belief that when something is given, it is a loss to the giver and only the receiver has gain. But to God, the concept of giving works to the benefit of the entire sonship, and not one is left out. For it is everyone's gain to understand that when something is shared, it becomes much more beneficial to each. When you share the gift of God's love with your brothers and sisters, does it not make sense that it is known to him and that he thanks you for it, that God thanks us for it. And what it is saying that, what is gift giving? It has nothing to do with the physical. The gift giving is sharing what we're receiving, sharing God's love, and not thinking that it only belongs to us alone. Nothing belongs to us alone because everything is intended to be shared. And that sharing is the beauty of what we have to learn in order to feel the wonderful elation, of joy, peace, giving, and receiving, which is all, it's all a God-given, wonderful experience. We talk about it, but talking about it really, to me, is only part of the truth. Feeling it, living it, and experiencing it is truly shared. I think I lost you.
Thank you, Myrna. I
There
had
you
myself
go.
on mute. I love what you read. Thank you. Yeah, beautiful teachings. Thank you. And Dove wrote in the chat room about lesson 133. I will not value the valueless, that which is temporal. That's what I was speaking about as I was reciting lesson 108. What's valuable belongs to me, that which is eternal, changeless. So, and then Elizabeth wrote, God's peace and joy are mine. Thank you, very beautiful. And Dove wrote, only what is changeless, eternal can be shared. So it's very clear that anything that is material is valueless because it is temporal and it will not last. That's why A Course in Miracles is teaching us to extend God's love to our brother. And by teaching what we know is true, that's how we will learn it ourselves. That's how we will embody it within ourselves. A Course in Miracles tells us that teaching and learning are our greatest tools while we are here in this earthly classroom. So if we really want to learn something, what we need to do is we need to give it away. We need to share it with our brother. And in order to be a great teacher, not only do we need to believe in what we are saying, we also need to believe in our brother's ability to hear us. So if I think that anything is lacking in me in any way, basically the best way to plug myself into my God socket, just get reconnected to that power of love, is to give it away, to extend that love to my brother. I mean, A Course in Miracles says praying is a way of asking for something, but the only meaningful prayer is one for forgiveness. Because when we know that we are forgiven, we have no desires of the world. We are going to connect to the truth of who we are. So that is something that I have been focusing on today. Like when I can think of anyone from my past that I might still have a grievance towards, and I can just focus on complete forgiveness for this one person. What it does is it releases any fear that is still within my own mind, because it allows me to connect to my own innocence. When I was listening to Course in Miracles today, everything that I was hearing, it was basically chapter 3 and chapter 4 that I was listening to. but it was really making so much sense. You know, I've listened to Course in Miracles so many times. I've read A Course in Miracles so many times, but it's one thing to intellectually understand what A Course in Miracles is teaching me. It's another thing to actually live the way A Course in Miracles is encouraging me to live, because it is just such a beautiful way to live. I mean, when you see the world through the eyes of the ego, you're seeing the good and the bad. You're seeing the innocent and the guilty. You know, you're judging, but judgment is not of God. When I see the world with true vision, I judge nothing. And God is telling me not to judge my brother. It's not that God is going to punish me for judging my brother, but if I judge my brother, I am going to suffer, because I cannot judge my brother without judging myself. So to release any judgment towards my brother is how I connect with the truth of who I am. And we are almost at the most beautiful holiday of the year. We are 2 days away from Easter. And A Course in Miracles is very clear that Jesus does not want us to focus on the crucifixion. The crucifixion of Jesus was the last useless journey that we need to take, that the Son of God needs to take. The whole message behind Easter is that fear has no power over us. And A Course in Miracles is very clear that to focus on the resurrection is to really embody the truth of who we are. Right, Myrna?
Yes, yes. To embody the truth of who we are. I like to look at the chat sometimes, and I really love the sharing that, you know, there's so much here that we can talk about. Karen wrote something: to give and to receive one reflects the teacher of God's characteristic, generosity, generous out of self-interest, but he does want to keep for himself all things that are of God, and therefore for his Son. These are the things that belong to him. So I guess really, you know, she speaks about generosity. What is generosity? The knowledge and the feeling that we want to share. We want to share the things that we learn through the Course in Miracles, that we begin to experience in the world. We begin to experience that we're not of the world, we're in the world. And the difference is that when we are of the world, we are of the ego, that we're becoming, we're drifting away from the truth, the reality of our higher self, the higher consciousness, the elevated consciousness that we really are becoming more aware of. At least I speak for myself. And as time goes on, that awareness helps me to recognize that it's all bullshit. I mean, when you think about it, things that happen during the course of a day that interrupts our peace is really bullshit, because it all disappears. It really does. It's nothing out of reality stays the same anyway. And you know, this morning I had an experience. Workmen are working outside my house, and suddenly the internet went down. The internet, and I'm thinking, oh great. Last time the internet went down was when they cut a wire, and I had no TV, I had no internet, television, or telephone, computer for 3 days, and that was such a time when I got through it, of course, but I didn't want to have to experience that again. And I see that they you know, that the same things seem to be recurring. I had no internet. I went outside, I spoke to the guys. Yeah, we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. And I realized I'm not going to get caught up in the aggravation of this. It is going to be what it is. Just let it happen, let it go. Somehow, when I think that way, when I get into the peaceful mode of not getting into the world's crises that come up, things do tend to repair themselves that much quicker. And sure enough, this time the internet came back quickly. And I honestly, was just refused to get caught up anymore in all the nonsense that seems to interrupt us and seems to, permeate everything that we think that is going on that's going to, be relate to havoc. But it really isn't. It doesn't really even matter. And I was thinking, you know what? If my internet didn't come back, well, I'd have to just call Susan and say, I'm sorry. I really want to be with you today. And that's exactly what in my prayer, that's exactly what I said. I said, I would love to be with Susan and share the experience of the talks that we have. But it is what it is. And sure enough, it came back. Things happen every day, and I refuse to take part in it as I did at one point in my life. Everything was a crisis, but I don't look at that as if it is anymore. I just want to be in peace, no matter what is occurring or what appears to be occurring, which is a dream anyway. And once we see that it's not really a part of the experience that we want to share with God and that we are given to share, because that's all really there is, then we begin to have what the Course in Miracles refers to as vision. But it's a learning experience. Yeah.
Yes, it's all a learning experience. And I love what you shared, it's important not to take life too seriously and see through the havoc. It's about being in the world, but not of the world, as you so often say. We are spiritual beings inhabiting these human bodies to learn our soul's deeper lessons, which are all about unconditional love. And sometimes when stressors kick in, it's just, those are when we can really learn. It's a matter of letting go and just trusting that God is going to take care of everything. So instead of getting upset that you might not get internet service in time for our talk, you just kind of released it and you remained calm, and here you are, and all is well. And that's just the perfect way to relate to life. So
yeah, I was prepared to be without internet for a few days. I really was. And thinking, you know what? So I don't have a television. I don't have my computer. I don't have my telephone. Suddenly it really made no difference. When years ago, when I had that experience, it was awful. So, I'm so happy that I've come to the conclusion that it really is just a matter of being at peace, no matter what happens. Keep your peace. That's all I wanted to,
and
interject.
sometimes too, to be fully present in the moment, it helps to kind of release distractions like that, right? So sometimes if if your internet didn't come back, just to let go of the computer, even let go of the phone, let go of the television, just to be without all this stuff, all this distraction, helps us to connect to the truth of who we are. So, yeah. And then if anyone wants to share, please feel free to raise your hand and jump in. Karen shared lesson 34. I could see peace instead of this, as you were talking, Myrna. And it's true. It's like that's like a big challenge for me, I think, in this lifetime, because I'm really a perfectionist. Like, I always want things to just work out according to my plan. And I'm very structured, I'm very organized when it comes to certain things, and I want everything to be just so. But I think when I can just release my agenda and trust in God, everything does work out. And when I can really release my own agenda, I think things end up working out better, because that's really what a miracle is. It's about releasing our will with a small w to his will with a capital W, allowing him to speak through us. And if we're truly trusting God, we don't really even know the exact words that we're going to say. When I'm truly channeling something, to another person, I'm thinking, but I'm also trusting in a power greater than me to speak through me. And so it's important to release control and allow a higher power to come through us, because that's when we are really inspired. Again, today when I was listening to Course in Miracles on Audible, Jesus was talking about how inspiration is the opposite of fatigue. We were born to be inspired. We were born to be excited. We were born to be passionate. We were born to love. And to truly love another person, it's a very joy-filled state to reside in. And this state of being doesn't come from us. This state of being comes from a power greater than us. But we can only access this higher state of consciousness when we kind of release our need to control. We release the dynamics of the ego. I mean, A Course in Miracles is telling us that the ego is always offering us trinkets. And the world is teaching us that these trinkets of the ego are what we should want, because these trinkets of the ego is what is going to satisfy us. But that is just not true. A Course in Miracles, A Course in Miracles states, why would we want the nothingness of the ego when God wants us to have the whole world? God wants us to be able to remember that everything that we're desiring in the outside world is not in the outside world. Everything we think that we're desiring in the outside world exists within us. We were born with everything. And to remember how much we have to give, how much we have inside of us, what we need to do is we need to give it away. Because by giving away to our brother the things that we have inside, we remember, by extending God's love to our brother, we remember how much love is inside of us and how much love we have to give. So, and it's not about getting anything of the world. It's about remembering who we are. It's about recognizing that everything we think we're searching for exists within us. And yeah, and it's important to slow down. It's important to be fully present in each moment. And it's important to remember that you can't love one person wholly and hate another person vehemently. Remember the old days, before A Course in Miracles, when we thought we could be really, really mad at the mailman and then come home and just love our husband or our partner fully? Well, we can't do that. We can't separate out parts of the sonship. It's like when when we're triggered by anyone, in order to love fully, we need to forgive that person who triggered us, because separating out parts of the sonship is not of God. And also we again have two sides. We have the love, which is all that is real, and we have the ego, which is illusory. It's our imagination, but here in this earthly classroom, the ego appears to have a voice, but spirit cannot hear ego, and ego cannot hear spirit. So it's important to align ourselves as often as possible with the light, so we can serve God's purpose here on earth. And that's the only way that we will have happiness. I think Elizabeth wrote in the chat room a little while ago that God's peace and joy are mine. The only way we can feel God's love, joy, peace, and happiness is by connecting to the truth of who I am, connecting to unconditional love, and extending that love to my brother. So when I'm driving, as I did this morning, and I'm really angry at the I was in a rush this morning, and I was trying to make progress and get home fast so I could get ready for my talk, and there was this truck that was moving really, really slowly, and I was like so determined to pass this truck. So I tried to pass the truck, but I kind of defeated my purpose because he was blocking the rotary that I was supposed to get off at. So instead of saving time, I lost time, because then I had to drive further on the highway to the second rotary. And so I went like 3 miles out of my way because I was trying so hard to go fast. Now, obviously, that's the ego that's always rushing, 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 rushing. And I knew that. So it's just, I'm so much happier when I just let things be, and I relax, and I love, and yeah, it's a discipline, right, Myrna?
I used to also be a very impatient driver. Just yesterday, I realized how far I've come with that. I had the same situation. There was a traveler in front of me, was slow, slow. I got to tell you, I just followed, followed. There was no way I could pass this person. And I accepted it. I accepted the fact that this is the way it is. I'm so proud of myself. I don't really, go off the deep edge about things like that anymore. I really don't. When we can gauge ourselves, recognizing how far we've come. It's such a wonderful feeling that we're gaining, that we're gaining knowledge, and knowledge is a wonderful thing to have. It really is. Knowledge has nothing to do with what we get from books. It has to do with how we reveal ourselves regarding, as you say, sharing, loving, having that feeling of oneness with the world, with our brothers and sisters, with I like to call it consciousness, because we are all connected as one. I listen to somebody called Cryon sometimes. He's really what's his name? The guy who channels Cryon. I don't remember his name. I had it. I lost it. But Cryon is an entity that he's been channeling. And one of the things that was said was that the human body is really designed to live much longer than we believe it is. I look back at the days when my parents were younger. I mean, my mother at my age, I mean, she never lived to my age, but my grandmother was older when she was 80. I look around me and I see that today, everybody that you look at the news, you look at the newscasters, they look like kids, I think that we are living longer, we are living more fruitfully. And what he said was the way to do it is to energize the immune system, to strengthen the immune system. And I thought about that. How do we strengthen the immune system? Well, he said, of course, it has to do partly with what we eat, but, eat healthy. But at the same time, the other part is to eliminate worry. Don't worry. And if you can eliminate that, it does strengthen the immune system. And yeah, I like to think of that I feel strong inside. I really do. I really hope that I'm getting it and that my immune system is getting the message that it is performing for me. And I refuse to worry. And the way to do it is just not to, like you said, we could be driving along and any annoyance that gets in our way kind of shatters it for us. But I related to that because what you were saying about that. But just in your talking and your talk, you got away from that. You are so. I love your sharing. I really find that you kind of everything you say is course related, and it just comes out that way. It really does. So you know the truth. Yes, we give in to the ego sometimes and let it become something, that doesn't belong in our thought system. We allow it to rule us sometimes. Just like you say, a little annoyance. You want to get back. You want to get back in time to do something, and you're blaming it on the driver who's really, cutting into that for you. But it's really all about letting it go, letting it happen, and it all works out in the end. It works out better. And I find that every appliance in my house, if it breaks down, I don't care. And you know what happens? It gets fixed. I get the repairman. I get the call that I need. I have really, it just does, So, like you say, God is working for us. God wants us to be happy. God wants for us what He's given us to feel. And if He gave it to us, then we gratefully should have it and extend it by being peaceful.
Dub wrote in the chat room, cry on. His name is Lee Carroll. Carroll.
Yes.
Lee Carroll. Yep, that's crying. And there's a lot of really great chats in the chat room. Dove wrote here, lesson 268, let all things be exactly as they are. So that happened to me a couple times today. I got very excited, at one. Oh, another thing that happened on the road is the stoplight. I swear it took 5 minutes to change. I was coming from my run and there's this one stoplight. And if you get it at the right time, it's not so bad. I have a time. Sometimes I'll only wait, let's say like a minute, and I'm okay with that. But if you get it right after it turns red, then sometimes, I mean, this morning I must have been at this stoplight for 5 minutes and I was on my way from my run to my cycle class. So I have everything kind of timed, and at first I was like, be calm, be calm, be calm. And I was actually listening to Course in Miracles, on Audible. while I was waiting. But then all of a sudden, as times, kept going, I started getting a little impatient. Then I started getting more impatient. And then finally, just before the light changed to green, I was ready to drive through the red light. I was like so impatient as I was listening to Course in Miracles. So like talk about the difference between intellectually understanding that God is peace, love, joy, and happiness, but emotionally, my ego was obviously winning at that moment because I was ready to explode. So finally, it turns to green. I'm like, thank God. So I start going, and then I go from the side onto the highway. And some car beeps at me. I think he was beeping at me. And again, this triggered my anger. However, the anger passed. But I guess the point of this is intellectually, I am very aware of Course in Miracles teachings, Course in Miracles concepts. And when I can align myself with the truth as I understand it, as my soul really knows it to be, I am happy. But it's so easy to get distracted in the world. I mean, it's really easy. But whenever we do get into an ego frenzy, one thing I do know, it's not about fighting against the ego. It's not about condemning myself for going off track. It's about just like turning on the light and just remembering the truth of who I am, because God does not condemn me, so the only person that needs to forgive me is me. And when I can connect to the truth of who I am and just, I guess, own my innocence. I have that affirmation that I actually said this morning before I got out of bed, and it's so empowering. I embody the essence of innocence. Like it doesn't matter about what happened in the past. Like if I'm holding myself accountable for something that happened in the past, or I'm holding my brother accountable for something that happened in the past that is not of God, and there's no point in doing that. That just is nonsensical. To worry about the future, serves no purpose. Actually, when we worry about the future, we are creating like damage, because the universe responds to our energy. And as you were speaking, I kind of remembered that, like you were speaking about how when things go wrong, it's important not to get caught up in the things that go wrong, and just maintain a elevated frequency, maintain, that loving high vibration, because the universe is always kind of reflecting back to us the thoughts that we hold first and foremost in our mind. So when we're keeping our energy high and we're connecting with that higher vibration, that's what we're going to see in the world, so when little things seem to go wrong, it is so important not to take the world seriously, and just to really maintain our connection with God. What is trust? To rely upon spirit totally. I first heard that from Dove, and it's just so important, because again, the universe is our mirror. The external world is nothing more than a reflection of an internal condition. So when my energy is high and elevated, I am going to see that reflected back to me in the world. I'm going to see that. I mean, I run every day and I see these beautiful animals. I actually, there's this one man that I talk about sometimes. I don't know him very well, but every time I run by him in the morning on my run, he always tells me about all the deer he saw. And yesterday morning, I asked him, so did you see any deer? And he was so excited. Yes, I just passed 11 deer. Can you believe it? And when he gets so excited and so passionate about that deer, that's a beautiful thing. Because anything that's just exciting and loving, I mean, that's of God. That's why it's so easy to connect to, the beauty and the passion and the love. I think it's children, animals, and nature, right? Because children, they're so innocent, they're so beautiful, they're so loving. Animals as well, and nature as well. They just are who they are, and they resonate to the vibratory frequency of love. Right, Myrna?
Yeah, I love animals. I really do, all animals. There's something connected to, the animal world that really connects us to God as well, because you're right, they are loving creatures. And even the littlest animal, I have a swimming pool brought to mind, and sometimes you got these little lizards running around. Well, they were too beautiful. I went outside, green, long lizards. And one of the lizards was hanging on, like, in other words, it looked like he was going to fall into the pool. He was hanging on to the side of the wall. And the other lizard would not leave his side. I mean, in other words, it was I just couldn't help marveling over the fact that even though I came out there, normally they scatter. This lizard did not run away; it was rather stayed with its mate rather than you be, let me intimidate it, so to speak. I mean, it was aware of me. And I absolutely, so I went and got a net, and luckily the lizard fell into the net and the other one scattered. And I released the lizard that was in the net. And all I could think of was, I hope they reunite. It was such an insignificant thing. It was so small, but yet I really connected to that. It was like, love, this tiniest animal, the tiniest organism feels love, obviously, can have some feeling of connection. It just taught me a lot. It really did. And it taught me a lot about myself. I was concerned. I hope that they were, reunited. And I asked Jesus to please make sure that they are. I mean, nonsensically, of course. But there's so much we can learn, even from the tiniest species. And I learn things every day. We do learn things from nature every day if we just pay attention to it, if we just regard it as something that is so much a part of us. We're given the beauty of nature in this world. So the planet is not a total loss. So there's so much beauty in it, and we just have to find it and behold it. And the world itself, can be a place of joy, but we have to find it, and we have to become cognizant of it. And even, we say things get us annoyed, things that break down, or like you say, the light that didn't change in time really can be annoying. But it's the same thing with people. I had neighbors that were, for some reason, angry at me. They would stop talking to me, and I really didn't know what it was. And yet I never felt any kind of wrath, even when they reported me to the board because they didn't like my tree, they said my tree had a disease. And anyway, I won't even get into it. But I just kind of let it go. I really did. I really, there was no animosity in any way. I just didn't go there. And what happens even with people when that occurs, the next thing that is likely to happen is that they're not mad at you anymore. I mean, now I see them, and it's all past. It really has. And I'm sure it's because I had something to do with it as well. I didn't react. I just let it be. So whether it be people, whether it be things, inanimate objects that you were talking about, or humanity, we really seem to need to come to the realization that it's all good. Right, Susan?
Yeah, as our good friend Sherry says, it's all good and it's all coming together. And I think, you know, by not reacting, that is of God. You know, our ego wants to react out of fear. However, that's not the truth of who we are. Really, when we do get triggered or annoyed or irritated, the healthiest thing we can do is to take a step back, to pause, and then when we do respond, instead of coming from a place of fear, we can come from a place of love. And hopefully, the person who triggered us will sense our love and change where they're coming from as well. You know, I came up with the 4P process for when we get triggered in life. Instead of reacting instantaneously out of fear, the best thing we can do is we can pause. I do believe A Course in Miracles is teaching us to bring the darkness to the light. We all have pain points that need to be resolved. So the second P is to own the pain. The third P is to process the pain. And the fourth P is to pray and give it to God, because it's just really important to give our um, give our challenges over to a power greater than ourself, because of my own, I can do nothing. But with God's help, there's nothing that I cannot do. I am part of God. So when I'm praying to God, I'm not really praying to something outside of myself. I'm just I'm just praying to an entity that is all knowing, all wise, all loving, but an entity that I am part of. So I'm actually praying to myself, but it's my wiser self, it's my bigger self, it's my unconditionally loving self. And you know, it's just so beautiful that we are all a part of this unconditionally loving entity. And when we can calm our mind, we can hear what he is telling us, because God is always speaking to us throughout the day. He is always speaking to us. He is guiding us. He is directing us. We have nothing to fear. However, in order to hear him, in order to hear his guidance, which again, he's not something outside of me, he's something that I'm a part of. So to hear the guidance of my higher self, to hear the guidance of my wiser self, what I need to do is I need to still my mind. So obviously, when I'm driving along and I'm getting really, really upset at the light, you know, I'm not able to hear God's divine guidance. So A Course in Miracles is teaching me to calm my mind so I can hear what he is guiding me to do. I guess that's why my morning meditations are so important to me, because I really feel like I'm hearing God clearly when my mind is still. I guess it's like, you know, it's like the pond, you know, and when you drop a pebble in a pond, and there's lots of waves. So if we have a lot of disruption in our mind, we can't see the pebble drop, because our mind is just chaotic. But when our mind is clear, when the calm is clear and you drop a pebble, then you can see the pebble, like the drop in the water. So when our mind is clear, we can hear what God is telling us to do and guiding us to do. And I know when I'm really listening to God, when I'm really listening to inspiration, when I'm really listening to my higher self, I can feel this sense of joy, and it's really a beautiful energy to connect to, and it's always there, it's always available at each and every moment. God is available to me, and A Course in Miracles tells us clearly that God needs us as much as we need him. So when I open my heart to hear God's direction, God is overjoyed that I'm allowing him to come into my life and love me. He's overjoyed. I need God. God needs me as much as I need him. Right, Myrna?
God needs me as much as I need him. I like that thought. I really do. I like to believe that I am worthy, that God needs me. I mean, think about that. That's such an awesome, thought. Yes, the reason I believe that God needs me is because we're part of with the sonship, and if any part is missing, it's not complete, and whatever is not complete is not whole. So God wants the wholeness of all that He is, and every human soul is part of that wholeness. So that tells me, yes, yeah, it's a wonderful thought. Um, what can there's really nothing to add to that. It's just beautiful. It really is. To me, God is so ever present. It's so ever present. I know you meditate and you kind of gain it in that respect. I feel it too. I feel it just, I take a morning swim every day, and I'm completely isolated, and I love that. I'm by myself, and I'm in the throes of that moment of peace where there's nothing nothing interferes with that. I listen to music, or I'll listen to, also, I don't listen to the audibles the way you do, but I always have something going that relates to the spiritual aspect of who I am. And that, every little bit adds, it becomes more apparent, the more we experience it, the more we allow it into our life, the more we feel it. There's another one. I know that Brooklyn likes Bashar, and I listened to Bashar on YouTube, and it's all a matter of there's so much out there for us to grasp onto, to listen to learn from. And whatever we learn is never lost, it's accumulated. I really believe that. Anything that we gain, that's why we really don't go backwards. We may fall off the path by getting annoyed, by letting something, become all encompassing, that is not important, and it's disruptive. Uh, you know, Aside from that, we don't need that. And to have that peace, to have that meditative experience does allow us to gain, and we don't lose it.
Yes. Yes. Very well said. Thank you. And on that note, it is 2 o'clock. So our time here has ended. I loved our time here. Thank you. Thank you for all your shares and for your chats, Dove and Elizabeth. Thank you. Thank you. And I will end with the introduction of A Course in Miracles. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The only thing that is real is the love. Thank God for that. And I will now return the microphone to Lynn.
Thank you so much, Susan and Myrna. And you guys have a wonderful Easter. Love you guys both. Easter and Passover all at the same time this year. It's a wonderful
Thanks.
thing. All right.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Thank you.